Okay, we are getting close. This step is going to sound like a lot, but the truth is, if you've done a really good job up to this point, this step will be easy, and this is the step I kind of like. It's all the top stitching. So up till now, what we've done, we've got the backing on, and we sewed it on, and we clipped, and we pressed, and then we turned it out, and now we have it pressed again. You'll see our edges are all nice and gentle scallops, and the backing is sitting on there nicely. And so we pressed it again, and now we've put pins in. And the point of these pins is to keep your backing from bunching up, and getting wrinkles and tucks and all of that while we're sewing. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna top stitch, and I top stitched around each wedge. I'm an 1/8 of an inch away from the seam. I would start on this side, and I would sew down all the way down, and then I would come around the scallop, and then I would turn and I would come up, and then I cut my threads, and then I go on to do the next wedge. And again, the same thing. I'm gonna show you the foot I'm using on my machine to make this easier. And I started here more towards the middle of the skirt and worked my way this way, and then I'll work my way that way, okay? That way, it's just, you always start in the middle, and this is similar to quilting, and you always start in the middle for quilting. So my machine is set up for top stitching. I have the HP walking foot on there, which looks like this. I can make my needle go through the hole, and then I can run the edge of my foot next to my seams, and I get gorgeous 1/8 of an inch even, neat top stitching. My stitch length is set for 3.0. I just have a creamy thread on there that is gonna look nice on the background of my fabric, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use my walking foot, the skinny one, and I'm gonna top stitch. So I will see you back here when I've got that done and show you how to apply. The only thing that'll be left is to put binding around the middle of the quilt. Sew a wedge on here, or we're sewing around a wedge, so I wanted to just show you real fast. I've got it folded so that it'll fit through the bed of the machine, and I'm just got my foot, it's gonna follow my seam here, which I just realized there's some stitching that needs to be ripped out there, but we're just gonna follow the seam, and we're gonna go down, and again, I've got a longer stitch length, 3.0, because it makes for prettier top stitching. And we're just gonna hold it up and I'm letting the machine do the work. Because it'll take it through all by itself. I'm just making sure the edge of the foot is on the seam. And then when we get to the bottom, to turn the corner and go around the curve can be a little bit tricky. So I'm just gonna go slow. On this foot, the line in front, that's a 1/4 inch away from the needle. So I want my needle, where I'm gonna turn the corner of my project to be halfway between this mark and my needle, because that'll be an 1/8 of an inch. And then when I turn, I should be perfectly away. Yep, I'm in the exact spot I wanna be in, away from the edge of my project. So I'm just turning gently. If you have trouble turning, then what you want to do is you're going to stitch a couple stitches, or 3, and then stop, and then you can turn a little bit, and then stitch a couple or 3 stitches, and then stop and turn. It's a pretty gentle curve, so I'm okay just turning as I go. But if I get into a tight spot, I just stop and adjust. It's really not a big deal. And again, when my corner here is halfway between my mark on my foot and my needle drop, I'm going to stop and I'm going to turn, and I should be 1/8 of an inch away from my seam. Okay, so now that I'm done, I gotta shove I've just got my quilt folded up, and then at the end of every single line of, when I'm done and I cut my threads, when I get back to the top of the wedge, I'm gonna check the back of my tree skirt. Every single time I check the back, because if something went wrong on the back and I keep going, I've sewn the problem in, and when I decide to fix it in 3 wedges, I have 3 wedges of stitching to rip out. Where if something went wrong now, I only have to rip this wedge. Wow, that's hard to say. Okay, so I'm going to cut my threads, and then I'm going to flip it over and check. And all I'm looking for is, did I have any tucks, anything get sewn in? I don't like the way it looks, but it's okay. So I'm just gonna keep going, and I've got 3 wedges done and 12 more to go. So we'll be back then.